A very good evening to one and all present here today. I am Dayohindin Maulong, and so we are glad to know that the Shillong Law College, Meghalaya, is organizing a one-week faculty development program, which is collaborating it with the with the Cape Comorin Trust of India. We are also deeply honored to grasp this golden opportunity to organize this program today. Without much further ado, may I call upon Dr. Mrinalini Kharshiyeng, the Vice Principal and also the IQAC Coordinator, to give a welcome speech. Thank you.
It gives me immense pleasure to further note that this International Virtual Faculty Development Program is being organized by Shillong Law College in collaboration with Cape Comorin Trust India. I would also like to commend the organizers of the conference for their initiative and their efforts to make this a memorable event. I once again welcome all the participants from all over to this international first day of the International Faculty Development Program on Research Methodology in Humanities, Social Sciences, and Legal Studies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So we're not going to waste much of our time. So the speaker for today evening, we have Sir Edward Mondal, who lives in Edmonton, Canada, and he holds a Master of Business Administration from Southern Adventist University, Tennessee, USA. He also has 20 years of professional experience as an academic researcher, trainer, coach, and consultant. He taught as an academic at a number of universities like Bangladesh, India, and Canada. He is also a chapter president of the GARA, that is the Global Academics Research Academy, Canada. He regularly presents keynote speeches with a number of universities and research organizations. He taught as a sessional instructor at the McEwan University, coordinator of CDI College, Canada. Now in Bangladesh also, he taught at the International University of Business, Agriculture and Technology. He also worked as an international organization, a senior research fellow. He worked as a consultant in the Ministry of Commerce, Bangladesh, Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry, International Labour Organization, European Commission, Royal Netherlands Embassy, UNFPA, and many other corporate organizations. He also worked for the provincial government as an analyst. He was also a certified trauma informer coach and motivational speaker and editor of Sustainability Watch and Piranha Television Canada. He is also a social entrepreneur. He founded CSR Bangladesh in 2008 and Corporate Sustainability and Responsibility in Canada in 2015. He also founded the Canadian Museum of Bengali Civilization. He is a Rotarian and a chair of the Youth Committee for the 2021-22. He is also a member of the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. He has also volunteered a number of international organizations, and he also worked for the UNFPA project as a consultant for the as a consultant here in Canada. He is also passionate about the management, consultancy, and entrepreneurship, research and innovation, human rights, labor rights, workplace, health and safety, poverty, elevation, community engagement. He is passionate about documentary filmmaking. He founded Global Academy of Holistic Leadership and Coaching Industries, a global knowledge platform. He regularly conducts leadership, sustainability, and motivational speaker series through his channel. He is passionately working towards the knowledge-based, sustainable, inclusive society. So may we please call upon Sir Edward Probin Mondal to start over with the program, with the faculty, with the faculty in development program for today. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Can I share my screen, I guess? Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
You can see the screen, right? Okay. Okay, can you see the screen?
It is visible.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm humbled and honored to share my thoughts or my experience with you in this great platform. Thank you very much, the board of Shillong Law College and all the members of Shillong Law College and the collaborators like Cameroon Trust India. So today I will be sharing with you some case study research. As an industry practitioners, I will be also I work as an academic, but right now I would be more focused on industry in collaboration with the academy and share my thoughts about my experience in case study research. As you know, what we are discussing in social sciences, case study is one of those great method or tools that we can use. Now, case study, I'm not going into very much academic details, but I'll be sharing with you some examples, mostly today, as an in-depth study of particular situation rather than sweeping statistical survey. Now, what we're doing in case study is we're using this method, narrow down a very broad-based field research into easy researchable topic. Now, what we are thinking is the case study research. What is the difference of case study research? The case study research design also is for testing whether scientific theories and models actually work in the real world. Now, there are a number of thoughts, right, why some of them are for or against case study research design. And what I like to focus on, right, because I worked with a number of case studies, developing some case studies. So I will share my experience and see what are the benefits of case study design. Now, as you know, there are many other research methods or technologies where that is applicable to those certain cases. But case studies is one of the tools that we can use for businesses. Now, as industry practitioners, right, how we can use case studies, that will be my topic today. Now, I'm not going into the details, but what I would like to share with you that how we design, like initially, right, we need to understand that when we are conducting a case study, we need to design a case study, right? The advantage of case study research design is that you can focus on specific or interesting cases. Now, to test a theory with a typical case, or it can be a specific topic of that interest. Now, the first foundation of the case study is the subject and relevance. In case study, you are deliberately trying to isolate a small study group or one individual case on particular population. As you know, if I understand correctly, you are mostly right in the field of educations, and I can see a lot of faculties are from English faculties and Shillong Law College Law. There are a number of social sciences areas are there. So if I understand correctly, that many of you are dealing in the field of education. So now my observations, right, when we are designing and conducting a case study, there is two different things. One's for business case and one was teaching case. Now here, before going to that details, I'll just share with you some consideration. Now, when we're dealing with case studies, now we need to focus on who will be my audience. As we know that we do have a lot of challenges, and why we are why we're discussing case study is basically is there tools that we can work on for our for developing the businesses. Like for example, we have some problems, challenges, and we're using this case study method. But first, we need to understand that who will be my audience. It's very important. Now, the next one I'd like to share with you is when we do some literature survey, some research. In case studies also, we need to do some industry analysis, some sector analysis, and see what is going on in this particular field. Now, here, there are also other considerations, decision focus of the case, like for example, like why we are particularly studying this particular case, and does it serve my objectives? And is it specific enough? A decision focus should be situation specific and concrete. It cannot be vague or abstract. Now, one of the other thing also we need to understand here in case is it urgent enough? As we know that we are dealing with pandemic and we are having a lot of challenges. So one of the thing that I learned actually during my years, like even recently, is right. We need to at least find out the relevant topic or urgent topic. Like right now, we're dealing with pandemic, so there is a lot of challenges are there. So many of us are actually investing our time or focus, which sometimes irrelevant or not important topic. So it is important to understand like why is the particular topic or area is urgent enough? Is it the only on real life business situations are complex? Now here, there are a few questions when we actually discussing the case study. What point is the case trying to make? Is it trying to make point at all? Or what I am supposed to do right now? Now, I have actually shared with you, as I said, that today my presentation will be not more academic, more on my experience sharing with cases. So as you know that I have already worked on some business cases. One of the cases that I worked on first was child labor. So the child labor case, it was a couple of years back. I'm from Bangladesh originally. So this particular situation was happened because Bangladesh is mostly producing garments or ready-made garments industry in the world. So they're using child labor. And as one of the challenges is when they're using child labor, the European Union or the importer, they imposed law because they're using the child labor. So I had an opportunity to at least interview the garments industry and child labor issues. They're having a lot of challenges. Now, when we are actually particularly discussing about the case, this is a very sensitive case because when we are interviewing the industry, many of right them or like they won't share the information. As an industry practitioner, or even ready, if they are trying to get any information, it's very difficult to gather information. If you're doing the other type of research, sometimes it is very easier to get information. Like for example, from the secondary sources, even from the primary sources. But there are in business, like for example, the example that I'm sharing with you, child labor cases. This is very sensitive information. Like industry, those who are actually having businesses, they'll not share their information. So as a practitioner, it will be very challenging for you to gather information. Now, one of the things that I know, as we live in a society, we need to at least understand that we do have moral responsibility, not only to our community, but to a nation or to a greater society. So what we are actually trying to make is to understand and just do the approach. So the first approach I'd like to share with you is to understand the overall perspective. What is the impacts of the particular cases? Like if I just take an example of this child labor case, this is also right. I've been also in India, like many places in India. Many restaurants or maybe small or some of them called dhaba or right. There are many. They use child labor. there are many industries or many industry that I work with. Another industry was the leather, this manufacturer. So they also use child labor. Now here, one of the problem here, the industry or those who are using this child labor, they won't cooperate or they won't, they won't provide those information. As a business school, like for example, Shillong Law School or any school in India, right? Those who are actually training, right? For example, you are having students or you are, right? You are actually interacting all the stakeholders. So when you're trying to, right, interact with stakeholders, we need to have the holistic approach, how you gather this information. Now, in this particular case of child labor, we need to, right, to first understand, right, so what we need to understand why we are actually, what point we're trying to make, and it is relevant, or what I'm supposed to do right now. Now here, as a case author, I know many of you are in academic right now and field, and you like to develop your skill as a case writer. So I like to focus on certain required skill. So that means what you need to have is, you need to have the key issues or questions that have been asked about it. You have to be able to communicate your thinking effectively in discussions. And you must be able to write persuasive response to questions about a case. When I first started, right, this case in like in 2000, early 2000, I was it was very challenging. I was as in like I got some like I got educations, but it was challenging as a practitioner, right? When I was thinking, because as a case author, you don't get any tools. Like for example, like so those secondary sources, these informations are not available. When you're trying to communicate with the industry, they won't cooperate with you. So one of the things that you need to have, that the communication skill, right? As many of you know, right, in any field, the communication skill is very important. When you are in case, one of the things that you are doing is interviewing. So when you're interviewing, you're communicating. In India, like many years, early 2000, I was actually working in a hospital where I do actually survey research, where I had to take interviews in Hindi, where this particular communication skill is very important. So communication skill is not only communicating, but also making your points clear. So you need to have a very clear understanding on that. And then also the other thing is a persuasive response. One of the things that as a practitioner, I understand that sometimes, it is very good practice to have making notes. And if somebody is, very defensive, that how do you approach? It's very challenging, right? If somebody says no, or somebody is giving reasons that may not be relevant. So how you can, respond to this particular area. Now, as you know, there are different components of cases. As I shared with you, as a business school or law school or any, right school, case study method is one of the great methods. Harvard Business School using the case study. There are many business schools that are using the case study method. Now, why the case studies method is very useful? Because they are very direct, or they, right, when we use this case study method, that's very useful. Now, when you're using this case study, the first is opening. That means you need to understand this particular area, and then the industry and organization's background. You need to understand the particular industry. So, for example, as I give an example of child labor cases, so you need to understand what is the particular industry. For example, if it is a ready-made garments industry, you need to know the industry, like industry analysis, what the industry is bringing to you. If the industry is bringing a great, for example, foreign remittances, that is important. Now, in Bangladesh, many years back, at US also, right, they banned, Bangladeshi products because they're using child labor. It was very difficult, that the export industry was more largely, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have current statistics, but like Bangladesh is very much dependent on garments industry. So this child labor case, because of their using child labor, it was so we need to understand the particular industry, how the industry is affecting this particular case, and then also the sector analysis. For example, the particular sector of the business, how it is actually had an implication to your organizations or implication to your nation. The state in India, like for example, Meghalaya, right? How the particular, you need to understand how Meghalaya is that the importance or the economy is growing. So you need to understand not only the Indian industry, but also your province or your state, right, how the state is running. So it is very important to understand. And the other thing is also the case story. So what do you mean the case story means? You need to at least understand that why you are particularly studying this case. In this example of the child labor case, that what are the stories? What is the stories? You need to hear from all parties. Like for example, I had an opportunity many years back to hear the stories from the child labor. What is their stories? Because I know Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, like mostly, like they're struggling with poverty, right? Many of them, right, I have seen that like those child labor, their dad or the parents are not there, or maybe the dad married another person, or their mom died, or so this child, right, labor is it's not easy to resolve this issue. So the case story, you need to understand the case story, and even from the industry perspective, what is their story? So this is the component of case. When you're writing the case, there are different characteristics of case. So there's controversies there are contrasts there, conflicts there, dilemmas there, and other dramatic elements are there. So as an interviewer, as a case writer, it is very important to understand that one. It is not only, you're not writing an article, you're not writing a story, not only story, but it's a case. This particular experience, when I was working in these case studies, it took more than 4 years. I was like, initially I was thinking, right, why is taking 4 years, like taking long time, because it is so easy. And I was surprised, like it's very, very detailed. So first, as I share with you, right, we have to go through those industry, right, research analysis, and then the sector analysis, what the sector is doing. And the particular case, you need to go interviewing and go to the field research. And then finally, right, when we're doing, you write the cases, but also not write the cases, getting a feedback. When you're getting a feedback, also you're sending to the different business schools, like for teaching notes, and even you're getting feedbacks and rewrite your cases. So this process is very comprehensive, very rigorous. So, but what are the benefits of these case studies? Actually, I have done other researches, but I like the case studies approach because it is more realistic. And why I'm very passionate about these case studies, because this gives us opportunity to at least interact with people. Sometimes when we do other statistical surveys or research, we don't have a chance and opportunity to interact with people, interact with tendencies. So this particular approach of the case study is more realistic. Now, when you do the field visit, there are many things like that. I'll share with you some procedures, like the field visit procedures. The first field visit, defining the issues. When we're saying defining the issues, we can see that it is very important, right, to understand the particular issues. Now, the next one of the other case studies that I would like to share with you that I have done with in tannery, and you can call it in the leather industry, where there is very unhealthy environment is there. Those workers, sometimes this particular industry that I visited many years back was like they don't have windows, and they're working very unhealthy environment, and they they work long hours, and there is no proper sewerage, like proper or waste management system. The many places, and sometimes they are having issues of getting some skin diseases, and there are a lot of issues in the tanneries. And then the employers are not even very careful or not very serious or not committed for the health and safety of the employees. It was very challenging. I know I have visited many parts of India, and even in Bangladesh, like many parts, I think sometimes some industries, or maybe they're located maybe a house or some remote areas where people, the authorities or the law enforcement agency or the regulatory bodies sometimes don't check, or they don't do audits. So it is very challenging for a particular industry, particular the workers or those employees, those are facing. So in this particular field visit, what we need to define the issues. For example, in this tannery visit, I have seen that we need to define the issues. These are the problem. What are the problem they're facing? The next example I'd like to share with this procedure is that another example I did. I'm a SA 8000 certified lead auditor. That means social accountability lead auditor. I had an opportunity to the audit one of the garments industry in Bangladesh, where the next they're located in an area where there are other residents are there. Like for example, in communities are there. So there is a pond, and the pond they're actually they didn't have that waste management system proper. So the residents or the community members was largely affected because the water was polluted by the industry. So after 4 years, after we audited first time, after 4 years we visited the industry again, and then we found out, right, they followed our guidelines, and then they have a proper waste management system and things. But when we are actually interviewing these residents, we can find they're having issues. Like when why I'm sharing with you this one is very important. If like we actually, couple of us, when we are trying to when we are asking questions to local residents, what are the problem they're facing, they came up and they shared their experiences. Now, for example, if I didn't ask, or if we don't ask the questions that what problem they're facing, we didn't impose those restrictions to those to the industry. And they are very reluctant at the beginning. They are very reluctant to take any suggestions or anything. But when we impose those restrictions, and then they had to follow. They had no choice because they had to follow with the regulatory body. So it is very important the identifying interviewees and other data resources. Now, talking about the case release procedure, like how we can. There are, right now in Canada, we are very serious about like privacy or confidentiality. I'm not sure about India. I've been, it's already been 20 years that I've been there. So it's a long time. But privacy and confidentiality is very important. When you're releasing any case and things, we need to follow the right procedure. Even when you're interviewing the person, you need to follow the right procedure. I had another case. I had an opportunity to work with Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. This is a central bureau for doing all the survey, research, or even census. So one of the interesting story was one of the person was assigned to for doing survey. So as you know that when we do census, even in India, I have been in India. So they do send all those investigators, or you can say the workers, those who are doing census. But how do you check whether they are genuinely doing those tasks? Sometimes they are filling these questionnaires by themselves instead of going to people, or instead of asking these people. So we we found out when we do actually checking, sometimes we are not getting we are getting some reports or some statistics which may not be telling the truths, or is not the fact. So it is very important to at least have this the procedure which is called the case release procedure, where the interviews have some contact information. So there should be some reliability check. So this is very important for anyone. And then understanding the time requirements. Like sometimes it may take longer time. You need to at least have a proper guidelines of the time. naming the company liaison person, that is also important. Now, these two differences between the research case and the teaching case, as we know that, like many of you, as I already understand and know that you will be using the cases for your school or your institute, like law school or business school. But there are also research case. So there is two difference. There is a difference between this research case and the teaching case. The research case describes an organization's decision-making process. Whether on teaching case, what happens is tells a story with decision focus. So it is more specific, or you can call it is more programmed in teaching case. And research case explains or analyzes organization decisions, whereas the teaching case offers no obvious explanations or analysis. And research case, we can say this, we can use it for early stages of research project, and teaching case after a research project. For example, my case when I was working with the Kingdom of Netherlands, when I was doing research, and even in India, I was a fellow of Cochin University of Science and Technology at the time. We did a lot of research, but after that, we also sent them for to the school so that there should be an evaluation. So we got the report teaching, cases. So it actually, the teaching cases after a research project is done. Based on this research project is based on truth or the fact, whereas the teaching is selected, simplified, distorted, sometimes is this information. That means sometimes, as I said, it's called programmed, information. Is served specific purposes. Now, as you know that as a educator or as a curriculum developer, you can program, and sometimes you don't update your curriculum sometimes. So it is very important for a business school to update or see that whether you get an up-to-date information. I remember when we are doing particular research, one of the important thing is also that when we did the research, like it should not be obsolete. Some data and statistics should not be obsolete. That means you need to get a relevant data, up-to-date data and everything. If the relevant data is not available, then you do research or you spend some time, because without that, it is not useful, right? Or it's not helping your community, or it's not helping your class. And for research case is written chronologically, whereas the teaching case is written with flashbacks, have actors, perspective, and drama. Now here, one of the things that is very important just to understand, there is also common pitfalls for some case studies or case. So case has no clear decision focus, and case has many decision focus, case has no clear structure, case is not objective, case offers diagnosis of a problem or issue, and case provides little context. Now, first we need to understand, right? See, in any situation, any research, we need to understand why we are doing this research. For example, if you are a business school, you have a responsibility to teach or provide this education, and education is a noble profession, has to have a holistic approach. So now, when we're as a business school or even as a law school, whatever, you need to understand that what approach or what research you need to do to develop your business school. For example, curriculum development is a continuous process. Even we have seen a different scenario before pandemic, right now, during pandemic, and post-pandemic situation. So what are the what particular approach should be useful for this particular situation? You need to understand. So why? The question why has to be there, and understand that why particular approach is important or important for you. Now, the case provides too many details. As I said, when we write case studies, the first one, the additional notes has to be there, is called industry analysis, and the next one is called sector analysis, and then we do the case studies, and we do all interviewings. There are a lot of documentations has to be there, and then finally, when we are finalizing the cases, there is also a teaching note. So this case study is a very comprehensive approach, but this is one of the powerful tool, I would say. And So just in general, right, we will say a case study is a research approach that is used to generate in-depth, multifaceted understanding of a complex issue in its real-life context. It is an established research design that is used extensively in a wide variety of disciplines, particularly in the social sciences. I know this conference is focuses on social sciences, the field of social sciences. So it is one of the great tools. Now, in decision scenario, there are some distinct elements that need to be understood. Now, identification of the required decision. So we need to identify that what decisions that we are making. So identification of required decision is very important. Review or identification of option. What are the options are there? Are we selecting when we're doing secondary research or doing things? So do we see any options? Or sometimes we do focus group discussion, and then we also even interviewing with experts and gets the opinion. So when you're getting the opinion, then you know the options. Now, initially that this case studies approach doesn't, it is very complicated, as I said. To getting the when you want to get this the options, you need to at least talk to an experts or the field experts. Then it will be easier for you to identify the options. And then after that, there is a criteria selection. How do you select those criteria? It is important. And the criteria based, you have to do also the criteria based analysis. And then there is recommended decisions, and there is a proposed action. So this is a decision scenario of right, how right, we do case studies. Now I'll give you another example before we right, just get to the analysis of the cases. There is another case that I did. It's called tea industry. It's called Tetley Tea. One of the there is many tea gardens in Bangladesh, even in India. So this is one of those great industries where many employees are working. But if you see the working conditions, even with those this industry, tea gardens, they're very poor, and sometimes they're not paid. They're paid very low. Sometimes they're not paid. Right? The employer are very not good to the employees. So I've did the research many years back. I don't know what's going on right now. This particular case, right? What I'd like to share with you is we need to analyze. When you're saying the analyze the case, there's what is going on into this particular situation. So as a case developer, we need to develop a framework. We need to probably if you are beginners, what you need to write down and just add a good framework so that you can dig into details what is going on in the particular case. So because the ultimate purpose is for what? As you know that as an educator or as a student or as an industry practitioner, we are change agent. Ultimate goal is for what? Why we do research? The research is for human development. When we are doing human development, that means we are doing something good for the society, good for the community, good for the people. Now, this is change for the framework for leading change, the create urgency. So that means the particular case for the tea, I say that working conditions was not good. They're not getting paid. And so you can see that there's a create urgency is there, the form a powerful coalition. So when you need to form a powerful coalition. How do you form a powerful coalition? It's very important to understand. Now there are different stakeholders in the particular industry. You need to understand what are the different stakeholders. When we start, many years back at the beginning, I need to what are the different stakeholders, right? Is this particular, like, as you know, that the example for the stakeholders are, right? For example, you are a manufacturer, and then there is also suppliers, there is also the exporter, and even the government agencies, the policymakers are there. So there are many stakeholders are there. Sometimes some of them are like a direct impact, and some of them have the indirect impact. So you need to at least you need to have this kind of stakeholders dialogue or discussion to form a powerful coalition. In the example of the child labor, this was solved actually with the tripartite like the effort, like United Nations has to come in forward. So there is a government, the Bangladesh government, US government, the Senate, and there is the United Nations. So powerful coalition, and then finally they provide some recommendations, and then they had to follow those recommendations, and then this ban was lifted. So this powerful coalition is very important. They create a vision for change. You need to at least you need to create a vision so that you can change and communicate the vision. It is not only create a vision. Sometimes what is happening in the industry, as an industry practitioner, as I say, I've been doing business here for last more than almost 10 years. And I can see that sometimes employers are not very interested to share their opinions or their these that they're not involving the employees for decision makings. So this you have to create the vision, at the same time also communicate the vision. That means if we are employee, if you're employees, or if you're other team member, you need to communicate the vision. Even right as a business school, as I said, like I don't separate this one because I work in industry, I also work in the academic. So I can see there is a great gap in between. So even as an educator or in the field of academic, you need to communicate the vision. Like sometimes you're reluctant to share what is going on in the students. Like, okay, we are designing this program for the students. We need to communicate. And I know like many part of India, even Bangladesh or many part, they don't share the information. There is drastic changes suddenly, and they don't communicate with the students, or then they don't communicate with other faculties, other teachers. It's very important to communicate the vision. Remove obstacle. If there is an obstacle, you have to remove those obstacles. So you have to find out what are the obstacles are there, and create short-term wins. And you have to create short-term wins and build on changes. And anchor the changes in corporate culture. As I said, that we need to have a holistic approach, and a holistic approach, like as I say, industry and academia get together. Like for example, if I give an example of Meghalaya, the Meghalaya has some industries, some companies, maybe not all industries in India are represented in Meghalaya. So if I am in Meghalaya, what I'll be doing is I will be focusing on what are the industries are affecting, or what are the industries are actually doing business in Meghalaya. And is there any opportunity to grow, right? For example, as a law graduate, business graduate, those graduates will be working on those industries. So if we actually educate our students that what are the industries working in Meghalaya, or what are the scopes for development, we can see that my experience is some of my students also now are entrepreneurs. So as an educator also, you need to at least show the vision. You need to show the opportunity, the options that in this particular industry or the culture need to be developed. So this is very important to have that kind of holistic approach, like do the industry analysis for, like for example, for Meghalaya. Also do some sector analysis in the particular sector, how the sector is doing, and we can do the feasibility study. We can do some benchmark survey. I have done a benchmark survey in a couple of benchmark surveys called corporate social responsibility. The benchmark survey. Many industries, more than 60, or even in one cases we do more than 100 companies, but do some benchmark surveys. So when the benchmark surveys, one industries are doing good, and then we can when we are doing those researches and see that how they did well, right, and what are the factors are there, and can we replicate this one, right? If probably we may not be the same, our size is not the same, we may have different challenges, but when we do the benchmark survey or research, it is very very useful for you to at least understand that how you can grow forward, right? Can go forward. So as I shared with you that there are few cases. One case I shared with you as a child labor. The next case I shared with you the leather industry, the working condition. There is a Tetley tea. The last example that I'll be sharing with you, I think almost time. hate bunano is like for handicrafts products. Like hate means hands, bunano means like a stitching. So this is one of the industry, the handicrafts products, and they export to Europe also. So this product, many working ladies, working women are working from home also. They do lots of cheeses and they sell to vendor, or and they also sell to different stores. So these also the industry. Sometimes this industry is also important. Like there are many, even during pandemic, even after pandemic, there are many small entrepreneurs are there. So but this industry also need to be looked at. Why? Because this industry also, right, they're also helping the families, like those ladies or those entrepreneurs, those who are working in this field. They're contributing to the economy. So as I know that anything that my today's my summary, or what I'm saying, I'm very passionate about human development. So whatever you do, it has to for the human development. For example, the child labor cases, for example, the leather industry, the tea industry, the handicrafts industry, any industry that you work for, it is for the human development. You want to develop your nation, like your Meghalaya, you develop India, great India. India is a great nation. You need to develop your country. How do you do that? Case study is very great approach. As I said, is a very realistic approach where you need to analyze the case. Sometimes other research, the statistical research that we do, we don't have any interactions with any human or anything. But this approach, the case study approach, is a great approach. Now, this approach is also been taught in the business school. I have been teaching number of universities there, and this is one of the storytelling approach. People like it. People love it. When I have a presentation, for example, today I'm sharing with a PowerPoint presentation. Some people, right? Some students when are like when I do storytelling is a great approach. So as I shared with you, it is important to understand that, like, first question is why, where you are at, where you want to go, and how you go about it. So this case study approach is a great approach that you can share, or you can work with that. So with that, right, I would like to summarize and just share with you that this particular tool is very useful tool, and there are many statistical tools also that can be used, that you can use. But one of the things that you need to ask yourself questions: why, what is your issues, what is your problem, and involve yourself. Make some interactions, talk to people. Sometimes even with the faculties, the law school, business school, you need to interact. It's called business intelligence. Now I've been studying what's called collective intelligence. This you are having this conference. What we are doing, right? I am interacting. I'm learning from you too, right? Means what you are doing. So it's called collective intelligence, and how we can use this collective intelligence for human development. And like I know this conference will be held for next 6 days, like 7 days conference. You will be gathering a lot of information, but how you use those informations for yourself, for your development, for your school development, and for your province or state, Meghalaya's development, and for India's development. That should be your purpose. And you have to take notes, and you will see that. And then, as I shared with you, this case studies approach. Use this approach and research more and see how you can use this case study approach for your development. So with that, right, I would like to thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to share with you. Thank you.
Participants, is there any questions? Participants, you can unmute yourself if there's any questions or any doubt. You can ask, sir. So nobody has got any question? So I believe your session for today was very informative, and it's also very productive to each one of us for elaborating more on case study, which is an important aspect for every for research for research, and it is also very useful. So while listening to this, I was able to make list down some points where you talk about the important points of case study, about the key questions are the main thing, and you talk about the communication skills are also very important, and then also the need to have a persuasive response. Thank you, sir. And you also talk about the procedures of case studies, sir. You also bring out um, the research case and teaching case, which I think many of us also are still not very aware of about this teaching research case and teaching case. So that was it has really enlightened many of us, sir. And also, sir, this case study approach, it is also for the new development, like what sir stated to have stated here. So I believe nobody has any question. Yes, anybody has got any question?
I would
All
like to
right.
share with you one thing is just before I end. Uh, this particular approach, as I worked for 7 years for European Commission and wrote 10 business case studies. Uh, One of the, as I shared with the child labor, one of the cases, and then the other one is the tea industry, then leather industry, then handicrafts. So there are many the cases. Uh, I'm a practitioner, right? I taught university for even research methodology. If I was teaching today, like for example, there are many tools and techniques, but you can always get those informations more. The academic things is more in the things. Mine was like I was work as a practitioner. So when I was dealing with writing these cases, I found I did like I was in the field research. I was interviewing. I learned so many things from the industry. As I said, when I was interviewing those particular industry, right, the garments industry, I was very happy that we could provide this recommendation and they follow the recommendation. Other case, before I end, I think one of the example, I was interviewing one of the other industry in Bangladesh. There was the economic processing zone. They were big economic processing zone. They're very good practices, and we are very surprised on how they have. They're very good fire safety rules and everything. So what happened? One of those example why I'm like to share with you is there was an incident where how this CSR, good CSR practice can protect your company. There was some like miscreants or anarchy during the at that industry, and people was trying to destroy or trying to attack the industry. I was very surprised to see the thousands of employees in this particular industry were make the human chain and protect the industry. It was very unique example because the only that industry was there where they had a very good practice. I have seen that mom, they have the childcare, daycare, the facility in the industry. They are very poor. Like I know that if you see that they're getting very low paid, but they have very good facility for that they can bring their child in that workplace. They have great toys there. We can observe, and they don't even have the facility. They can afford to buy those things. So when there are good CSR practices, what happened when there is a danger? Like they protect the industry, they protect industry like anything. So good CSR practices can right can benefit the industry, benefit your school, benefit your industry, benefit your province, state, benefit your nation. So I think that with that, right, I'd like to emphasize everyone to at least have a good practices, social responsibility, good social responsibility. Yes, thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. That was uh, I think you've done a lot of research on child labor, then CSR. I think you has been very productive to each one of us who's working either on child labor or the corporate social responsibility, and for bringing up all these things, sir. So thank you, sir, for this presentation for today, sir, and for this teaching for today. And we, from on behalf of the Shillong Law College, sir, we would like to thank you, and we hope to uh, meet you again in future for other programs, sir. Thank you so much, sir.